head west for a third time today. Here's Jim Petersen at Jim Pete Hoops, Wolves TV analyst by day, KFAN radio analyst by postseason. And thanks a lot for helping us out, Mr. Jim Pete. What are you digging about the radio vibe? And good morning.
Good morning, PA. Well, I mean, Alan's been around for a long time. Horton is just a pro, and the Wolves have obviously had a lot of talent that have done radio over the years between, Kevin Harlan and Chad Hartman early on, and Brian Seaman came in and did a single season before he left, and now he's the TV play-by-play guy for the Clippers. And Brian was immensely talented, and he left after 1 year, and then Horton's been here since. So, working with him, I saw a tweet that Patrick Ricey threw out there yesterday about Alan's call that if the Timberwolves had been more successful, people would have a higher regard for him, like they do for Al Shaver, who was the late great North Stars radio play-by-play guy. But Horton is such a mechanic, just to see him work. And I've been around him for a long time, and I've actually done games with him for years. We've done, I would sit in with him and really do it for free, just do it for fun, really. If there was a TNT game, a national game, Alan and I would just go, hey, you want to come sit with me and do the game? And I'd be absolutely. So it's just, I'm on cloud nine right now. This is the greatest season in Timberwolves history in a lot of ways. The most fun watching this group of people work, the coaching staff, training staff, players, and then to get to work with Horton after working with Grady all year long, it's just a real treat for me.
What with the KG and the MV3, Spreewell and Cassell, then you got Wally World and Anthony Peeler up. What would make this potentially where we are now the greatest in the history of the team?
It's just the way that they play. Obviously KG, the fan base will always love Kevin Garnett for what he brought, the passion that he brought, that he put Minnesota on the map, that Flip Saunders and crew, they got the Timberwolves to the playoffs for the first time and then had some sustainability there. They, only getting out of the first round once, though, in that run. I don't know. It's just the way that this team plays and the collection of players. I said at the beginning of the year this was the best team that Minnesota's ever had. And, someone reminded me of me talking about this back in November. We played the Sixers at home, and it was a November game. And I just was just from what I saw in training camp and what I saw from the team up to that point. And, obviously since Finch had been there, I really felt that if this team just if they stuck together, if they played for each other, and if they stayed healthy, that they could win a championship. And I said that back in November. And I still stick to that. So I just think it's the personnel, PA. I think this is a deeper team than that team was.
Yeah.
Once Sam Cassell went down, there was just no way that Minnesota had the guard play to be able to overcome that. I think even if you lost, God forbid, one of our players, that I think we could still withstand some injuries.
Now that third quarter Saturday was amazing, and listening to you and Alan, it just meshes together so beautifully, man. The Wolves shot 14 of 19 in that third quarter Saturday, and Karl Anthony Towns, Conley, and Naz Reid were 6 of 6 on threes. What's getting into the gang in third quarters, where they've yet to lose a third quarter through 5 playoff games, and they're plus 43?
You know what? I think third quarters have been good for them for a long time. It's been the fourth quarters at time that's been a problem. I just think they come focused. Chris Finch really challenged them at halftime. He really got into the bench guys particularly, because that's something that's been, really good for Minnesota. It's coming into the series. It's supposed to be one of our real pluses, is our bench is supposed to be more productive. And I don't think Naz Nikhil could have played much worse in that first half. And Finchy challenges them. He coaches them hard, and that's one of the things I love about these guys too, is that they allow him to coach him hard. Anthony Edwards allows Finchy to coach him hard. If they can coach Ant hard, so he went at Naz, and Naz was like, trust me, and Finchy's like, well, play better. And he certainly did. He really, I mean, that fourth quarter for Nas, 14 in the quarter, he scored, 10 in the last 6 minutes of the game. Had some big hoops. I just think that, it's the combination of, Ant growing, having Mike Conley as a floor general, the things that Rudy Gobert does too. If Minnesota doesn't score, the opponent doesn't score. It's all these, it's not just one thing, it's a number of things.
This is Jim Petersen at Jim Pete Hoops, television analyst, but he's analyzing games with Alan Horton on KFAN, including tonight, 9 o'clock Central. Is Anthony Edwards the best two-way guard in the NBA, and perhaps evolving into one of the greats all time? So he's the best two-way guard. All right, now, Derek White can't score with Anthony, but I've always contended Derek with the Celtics is the best shot-blocking guard in the NBA. So, is Anthony just run away from him and others by a mile?
Yes.
Okay. Well, with Anthony,
yes, I think that PA, some of the block, you could put together a montage because, sometimes you forget, sometimes you take it for granted. If I put together a montage, and I just did this because sometimes I'll go on Synergy and I'll just watch all of Ant's steals or I'll watch all of his blocks, and when you put all those things together, you forget. All the things, all the blocks that he had, some of the incredible blocks that he's had, in the last month and a half of the season, going back even to the Indiana game, that block in and of itself. But it's more than that, though. Wow. It's the timeliness of it. It's the athleticism. It's the way that, he set the tone for that Denver game right away when they called 3 seconds on Nikola Jokic. It was a two-man action. And Ant was all over Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray couldn't even square up to shoot the basketball. And, Ant is just setting the tone for Minnesota. He sets it on the offensive end. He sets it on the defensive end. And there's just few players in this league that can do that.
Yeah, that Neesmith block in Indianapolis, wow, I'd forgotten about that. Holy cow, right at the buzzer. Great call by an elite basketball mind, Jim Petersen. Now, I got about 5-6 minutes left, but I definitely want to get this one in because I know you're an all-10 snob and love watching film or synergy or whatever you call it in the NBA. What's happening when the Wolves stop guarding the driver on the pick and rolls with Jokic? That just it's a weird visual watching somebody dribble down the key unchallenged, but it seems to be by design. Know what I mean?
Well, one of the things with Jamal Murray, you'll see him, you're trying to not let him reject the screen, the pick. You want to send him into coverage, and that's one of the things whoever is guarding Jamal Murray, or really any of the guards, whether it's Contavious Caldwell Pope, whoever, when they get in ball screen action, you don't want them to not use the screen. Then it's called rejecting the screen, PA, and that's a lot of times when you're seeing guys go unchecked because the big is on the other side of the screener.
Oh.
You know what I mean? So if Jaden's guarding Jamal Murray, you want to send him into the screen so that he gets into coverage. If you let him reject it and go the other way, there's nobody on that side of the floor. So it's sometimes a coverage thing, and it's sometimes just miscommunication.
This is Jim Petersen, the king of the Rubes and longtime season ticket holder, Jimmy Knutson, card-carrying member of the Love Covenant. He filed a report via the iHeartRadio app and a talkback for Jim Pete, and here it is.
Jimmy K, king of the Rubes here, and I'm at the point where I don't even know what to say anymore. As a single-season ticket holder, I've never seen this before. The jab, knockout mentality of a basketball team I'm at a loss for words. But what I do know is we're going as far as Rudy Gobert is going to take us. We've had Irvin Johnson terrorism. We've had Michael Olowokandi terrorism. Now we have the Defensive Player of the Year, and he sets the table.
And when those players are running free down the key, Stifle Tower is the one there set to swallow them up, right?
Well, I was just talking about this at dinner last night with some of our people. I just think that, Rudy is he's a monster out there. He's a monster in so many different ways, whether it's on the offensive end, offensive rebound of the basketball, the tip dunk that he had in that game, late in the game, the little bank shot he had, the little floater. I think there's a degree of luck that went into that. But defensively, the play that really stood out to me was, Nikola Jokic, when, he gets to driving into the hoop, like they play that 2-man game. And if you show on Jamal Murray as the Jokic defender, he pocket passes to Jokic, and now he's coming down Main Street, and Rudy's got to decide, does he leave Aaron Gordon, or does he step up and try to block the shot of Nikola Jokic? And so Jokic had gotten him a couple times in the game, but late in that game, he faked to Jokic, and Jokic tries to throw the lob to Aaron Gordon, which they had connected on a few times, and Rudy went back up and deflected it.
Yeah.
And so, do you remember the play? Do you remember that
Yes.
play late in the game?
Absolutely.
It was a huge play in the game, and Rudy's basketball IQ, he just is the quarterback out there, and he allows Minnesota. He allows the coaches to focus on the offensive end because he's quarterback in the defensive end. And one of the things, just incidentally though, one of the things that Rudy did, PA, is that there was a game in Milwaukee, middle of the season, where Rudy had wanted to change ends and have our offense be down at our end in the second half. And it's really kind of changed how end of game situations happen for Minnesota on the road. They're not talking about it much, but I think that the vibe that the players have when they're in the third and fourth quarter, especially late in the fourth quarter, and their guys are down there vibing them, it's been huge for Minnesota in fourth quarters.
Jim P, last one, and you when you played for the Rockets, you went to the NBA championship, so therefore, the complexity of rounds 2 and then conference finals and the championship and everything. When a player is not 100% like Jamal Murray, okay, he's playing hurt, and then I thought that 5 days would help the calf more than I'm guessing it has helped. But how about this, man? Finch, Nori, the staff, and these players, they're attacking that calf. They're attacking him and making him play to the best of his ability on that bad calf. Do you see it that way?
Yeah, that's what you got to do, and it's a really bad feeling. I just was having lunch yesterday with Britt Robson and Dane Moore, and I was telling them that it's a very hard thing when you're a player, when you're injured and you're playing and you're being attacked by guys that are full strength. And for Anthony Edwards and Jaden McDaniels and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who are all at full strength, having to they put so much energy into stopping Jamal Murray, and then on the flip side, attacking him defensively, like when he's on defense, it's a hard place to be. And he's not complaining about it, but I think he's way more banged up than he's letting on. And I think there's other guys. I think Contavious Caldwell-Pope is a little bit banged up, and I just think from that standpoint, Minnesota being at full strength right now, I just think it's a really good sign for Minnesota. I just really feel good about this series.
Yep, me too. I love Jamal Murray too. I've always loved his game. I got a lot of respect for him, but that's you more than me know what we are seeing, and I think that's dead accurate, and it's going to happen again tonight. All right. Love you, buddy. You're fantastic. Enjoy Ball Arena.
Okay, love you.
Enjoy the call.
Okay, bud.
We'll listen tonight.
Okay.
See you, Jim.
Thanks, Paul.
Yep, later. Jim Petersen. The Chris Finch, head coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves interview we had to start the radio show is going to be replayed right around the corner. But first,
The Fan, along with BigDeck.com, they want to give you a chance to put $1,000 in your money, $1,000 in your hand with the National Cash Contest. The keyword is not money, by the way. The keyword is green. You can win $1,000 by going to KFAN.com and entering the keyword green. That's green at KFAN.com. Timberwolves head coach Chris Finch joined PA to kick off 9 to noon this morning, and we're going to replay it for you now. PA started the conversation by saying, hey, Coach Finch, are you familiar with that old TV show, The Odd Couple?
Yeah, of course I do, yeah.
Well, that's you and Mike Nori, isn't it? I mean, seriously, you guys take humorous little jabs at each other all the time. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, we're very, very close, both in our personalities, our friendship, and our basketball kind of philosophy is probably one of the most aligned I've ever been around of all the guys I've ever worked with. And not having come from the same background and not having ever worked together before we came here to work with Mike Malone and the Nuggets staff, I just was a guy I connected with immediately. And I always knew if I had a chance to get an opportunity to build my own staff, that Mike was going to be the first call.
And Micah the other day with the press conference, I mean, just off the cuff, quote, "I called all the good plays, Chris the ones that didn't work." End quote.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a certain degree of confidence one has to have to say something like that. But it also is born of truly how close you guys have become in really a short amount of time, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's not, and it's also just not Micah and I. I mean, I'm lucky to have just an incredibly close, talented, and egoless staff, and
right.
That's really the key. I mean, there's a lot of smart people, at the highest levels of anything that you do. How well you can connect with each other and how well you can accentuate each other's strengths and help each other's weaknesses. That's really what it's all about, and you can't do that unless you're egoless. And we don't have a lot of ego. We don't have ego at all in our staff, and everybody gets along well, and no one gets offended. And we don't always have time to kind of make everybody feel great about their suggestions, whether they're taken or not taken. We just keep moving on. And I always tell our staff, if you give me 10 ideas, I'll probably say no to 9, but the one we say yes to could make all the difference in the world, and that's what we just have to take pride in.
A day or two before you went under the knife last week, and we had Mike and Nori on the radio show. It was an honor and a privilege, but it also was mind opening to talk about Prigioni and Elston Turner and Boylan and just everything that goes into it. So I'm really I'm really glad you went down that road. Now I don't know how much you look at social media, like on a bus or when you're bored or whatever, but there are a bunch of Edwards and Michael Jordan side-by-side jumpers and dunks out there on Twitter these days. Let's add Allen Iverson after the way Anthony crossed over on Aaron Gordon and hit that jump shot. I mean, is he playing at or near the highest level of any player you have ever coached?
Yeah, I would say he's pretty much right up there. I mean, he's playing certainly at the highest level he's ever played, and it just keeps going from strength to strength, just making all the right plays, playing with the right amount of confidence. I said this the other day, like it's a balancing act for somebody who faces as much attention as Anthony or Cat when these guys get continually double teamed. We were preaching to them all the time: make the right play, make the right play, make the right play. And they generally do, but sometimes they become reluctant. It cuts at who they feel they are as a player because their aggressiveness, might be affected. But what's been incredible about this run that Anthony's on is his aggressiveness has not been affected. He's still staying aggressive. He's still finding ways to get to his spots, his shots, and doing them in clutch moments, and also making the right play alongside of that. Not turning the ball over, getting his teammates great looks, and kind of controlling the defense, because the defense is committing to him. And now when they're committing that much attention, we pretty much know what we're going to get, and he's just kind of orchestrating. That was always going to be one of the final steps in his growth. And for him to sustain it at this level with the stakes right now, it's really high-level basketball.
For those who may not know it, Chris referenced it earlier, but Chris coached with the Denver Nuggets and Mike Malone's staff, and the Nuggets are the champions, and the champs took that 18-4 punch. You guys jump them 18-4, and after that they made it all hectic. I mean, they respond from haymakers a little differently than Phoenix, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, these guys, like, they're not going to be rattled. They still have, the best player in the world, in my estimation. When the ball is in his hand, everything slows down and everyone's playing at the pace that he wants. He's creating, for himself and others. But they're just going to wear you down, and they have a lot of confidence. Their defense is extremely underrated. If you can continue to get stops, you're never going to be out of a game, no matter what. We know what their offense can be. I thought we helped them a little bit. I thought our bench came in and some nerves and just some ratty play that we hadn't really shown, some kind of characteristic play. I think it was really kind of game one excitement that had creeped in. But once we got to halftime, we talked about it. We got settled in, and our bench was just as key as anything else in that second half. Whether it be the defense that they were playing or just kind of the connectivity that they brought. And the most obvious one was Nas Reed's scoring burst at the time when we needed it the most.
And Rudy, Nas, and Cat, okay, whomever, you guys kept throwing bodies at Jokic, and there were times it was just evident watching it that he didn't like it. Physical series out there Denver way, isn't it, Coach?
You got to make it so. He's too good of a player to give him a free pass. He's a pretty physical player himself. If you allow him to dictate, if I had another three bigs, I'd probably play them all on him too.
But think about that, and I think maybe we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. But I mean, you're shuffling in these 7-footers, and then Nas and McDaniels are 6'9". And that's what your offense is predicated to a certain extent at times with that inside out game, which in a 3-point shooting league, that's your version of in the NFL running to pass and beating on teams with the running game to wear them down in the fourth quarter. Is that a fair analogy?
Yeah, I would think so. We definitely talked about it from day one of this season when we got together. Our mantra is that we have to do the things that big teams do, and that's be physical, win the paint, both ends of the floor, rebound at a high level, defend with length, be there all the time. We should be able to close down, space with our length and everything, and put our bodies on people. We have the ability to do that, and we have great depth. Kyle Anderson, 6'10". Let's not forget. We have lineups that we can put out there that are bigger than any other team in the league. And now we haven't necessarily gone to these complete lineups, but I can get a lineup with 2 7-footers, a 6'10" point guard and Anderson, McDaniels on the wing at 6'9", and then if you want to throw in Nas Reed or Anthony, obviously that leaves Anthony as the smallest guy on the floor, and he surely doesn't play small. So it's been part of our identity. It'll continue to be so. And guys understand what it means to the way we have to play.
Chris Finch, weekly 9 to noon, courtesy of Prize Picks, Daily Fantasy Made Easy, and Second Harvest Heartland. Chris Finch is on the board for Second Harvest Heartland and 2harvest.org. Now, with Chris, with Anthony going immortality on it, and in a standalone game with that 43 on amazing 17 of 29 shooting, you still absolutely needed Conley, Cat, and Nas to come through. And in the second half, they went a combined 17 of 19, 6 of 6 on threes for 41 points. I mean, that's amazing after the three started 3 for 13 in the first half. It was so key, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I thought for the first half, Anthony came in, he locked in, he got off to a great start, and he really got most of his stuff in the flow with being aggressive, came out with the mindset to set the tone. And some other looks that we got just didn't go in. But thankfully, Anthony carried us in that first half. Then in the second half, as long as we kept generating the right looks, which we were able to do, guys were, going to get on track. And I think underrated part of the game was, Cat's beginning of the third. He really kind of took over there, had a bunch of points early, we had kind of turned the momentum back in our favor, regardless of what the score was. We kind of felt like, all right, here we go. We got our rhythm now offensively, and that allowed other people to kind of get involved, and Mike's now in this aggressive scoring vein that he's been in for the last 30 games. And it's, we know at some point he's going to jump up and make shots. And then Nas, talk about growth for young players. And he's done it all year long, but, when he was a rookie for sure, or his second year in the league, he wouldn't have the ability to survive poor starts, but he stayed focused, stayed in the game, stayed confident, and then put that run together in the fourth that, pretty much sealed the deal.
Hey, Chris, you guys have won all 5 playoff third quarters and are plus 43 in those games. You were plus 6 at Denver. Why? I mean, what's leading to that common thread?
What I'm really impressed with our team right now is our focus. Whether it's our focus coming into a series, or our focus coming into our game, or our focus coming out of halftime. It's at a high level. I think guys understand exactly what the mission is, what needs to be done on the court, how to execute it. And, a lot of it surrounds our defense, and, maybe finding better shots. Because every time in the playoffs, you're going to face some adjustments, and, we get a chance to talk about those at halftime and say, hey, this is what they're doing different this game that they didn't do last. This is what our counter will be at this time of the year. I'm not going to say we've seen it all, but we've got some working knowledge and understanding of a lot of different things. And guys' ability to put that into play, and it helps when you have experience in Mike Conley and Rudy and Kyle Anderson and these guys who've kind of been there and really good at thinking their way through a game.
How early in the game, Chris, right when it started, and your spot in the second row or your spot on the bench, I mean, how long did it take you to look around and not hate where you were sitting?
Well, yeah, no, listen, it's definitely a different experience, but the fortunate thing is, I got guys that I trust. Micah's really good. He's really good at game management anyway, which is the most important skill set you need if you're stepping in to kind of take the reign. I could see the whole game. I could be engaged with the coaching staff. I could be engaged with the players. The conversation and the messaging was as normal. Just the interaction with the players and the referees and stuff like that on the floor. Obviously it was not the same. But listen, it's going to take a few more games. We'll keep working on it. The rhythm of it. This is our new reality. This team's so much fun to be around, so much fun to coach. I don't want to miss it for anything in any way, shape, or form that I can be there. On the bench and still, kind of carry the messages that need to be carried. That's the most important thing. But, I just got to adjust. That's what leadership's about. You got to adjust to whatever your new circumstances are.
Yes, sir. Amen with that. Were you tempted to jump out of the chair and test the knee when Kirkland hit Anthony with the technical?
Yeah, I mean, there were a few times. I think it might be good to be back there where you can't get gain access to the referees like you would like to. But yeah, I've seen that a couple times, and I don't know what if it's a new point of emphasis in the league right now. But we've seen it a few times in the playoffs already. A little bit of an overreaction. Didn't think there was too much there. And the league didn't think so either because they rescinded the technical.
Serious question here on the knee, then we're done with the knee at least. But seriously, how much, if any, pain were you in during the game?
Yeah, I'm in a pretty good amount of pain, kind of constant pain all the time. But it's getting less and less every day. I've got an incredible medical staff, got great help. When I'm not on the floor there during the game or at practice, I'm pretty much like I am now on the couch, leg up, wrapped in ice, and I'll probably be this way for another week or so. But it's just part of it, It's just, just got to deal with it, and it's not been too bad. And I know the guys appreciate having me around, and I appreciate being able to be around. So I wouldn't miss it for anything. And also, just like to say to that point, I do understand that a lot of people have donated to Second Harvest as a tribute to my injury,
wow.
Which is incredibly moving and impactful. And I can't thank everybody enough. If it takes an injury to get some people the help they need, then that makes it all the better.
That's beautiful. That's really beautiful. I'm glad you shared that. And with the pain in the knee, Imagine the plays you could design on a morphine drip. Have you ever thought of that?
Yeah, that'd be kind of funny. Right. Man, I don't know if they let you have 6 or 7 players on the floor, because that's how many you would see. So.
Why is Rudy shooting so many threes? Just the last couple here, and thanks for the time. Just the second time in Mike Conley's career, he's playing in the second round of the playoffs, and he's hitting some of the biggest shots of his life right now, isn't he?
He is. I mean, he's just so clutch. And every time he shoots the ball, I think it's going to go in. And it feels like the game goes on. He becomes more accurate, more confident, knows exactly when he's going to, take his shots, kind of been picking his spots all game. But, when we need him to make shots, he's been making them. And again, that's kind of a bit of a change from the way he played most of the season, because he played mostly as a true point guard, and that kind of selflessness has really helped make our lineup and 2 bigs and all that kind of stuff work. But when Cat went down and we knew we needed more scoring, and we knew we were going to need it in the playoffs anyway, it kind of happened at the perfect time where he was able to just got 25 game run to really find his aggressive edge. And we're seeing it now.
If Jokic is shooting 9 or more threes in a game, is that to your favor?
I would say generally. I mean, most teams would be happy if he's taking that many threes. I mean, he's a very good shooter, but he himself will tell you he doesn't want to shoot that many. And, I think his incomplete game, anytime you can make a great player like that one-dimensional, no matter whether it's make him just a scorer, or make him just a facilitator, or make him just a, post-up player, or just a perimeter player, whatever it is. If you're able to make a great player one-dimensional, you got to be happy with that. You just have to be willing to live with the dimension that you've chosen. But, he's too good of a player. He's probably not going to take the bait and just kind of turn into a one-dimensional player.
And lastly, Chris, this this is not to diminish the positives from Karl Anthony Towns Saturday, but what do you say to Karl about the fouls?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I think, first of all, the foul on the jump ball, I mean, my God, I don't think I've ever seen that before, and I'm not even sure, who tied up who. It's a play on. There's a zero advantage game to it. So that one was a tough one. I mean, he's going to have, he's been drawing tough assignments here. He's been guarding Jokic last series. He guarded Durant. When you're guarding those guys, you have 6 eyes of officials on you all the time, right, because of the amount of attention. So anything like that, not super clean gets whistled against you. He's done a good job of avoiding the offensive fouls, which is the ones that really kind of hinder him in his ability to play. But like the other day, I normally would have let him play with the 3 fouls, but I just, I knew that as we were going to get to some lineups down the road, I needed him out there, with the extra foul in his pocket to be able to play. So, he's done a good job, I think, of managing it, honestly, and we are fortunately deep enough to be able to survive some of that. But his postseason has been understated, very, very good for us.
What do you expect tonight, just overall, specifically from Denver?
Yeah, I mean, they've been talking about getting off to better starts. They haven't started well all postseason. I would expect a super hot start. The way that's going to manifest itself is a lot of transition. They're going to try to run us up and down, try to avoid us in the half court, try to force some cross matches I think that they could take advantage of. I'd expect Murray to be really aggressive. And then I would expect multiple bodies thrown at Anthony in every situation possible.
That's Wolves coach Chris Finch with PA to open 9 to noon today. A game day chat. Game 2 tonight. Tip off shortly after 9 p.m. right here on your home for the Howl. Final segment, 9 to noon is.
A 2-segment Tuesday is coming your way tomorrow.
9 to noon.
We howl early. We skull in the middle with the scribe Ben Gessling, and we howl late with Kevin Lynch in studio. Thanks for listening today. I'm Paul Allen. Here's Nordo to put a wrap on the show.
And the wraps on the show are brought to you by Casey's Food and Fuel Deals with Casey's Rewards and, of course, the pizza. There isn't going to be much to this wrap, so no need to get up from your desks and clap. I'm just thinking about Saturday's Game 1 slap to the face. Denver snapped in a bear trap, and it's a race. First 1 to 4 goes through. Ant stare knocked Jackson out of his shoes. Fourth quarter, Nas, the hero we needed. Who knew? Loving unstoppable cat in the third. Me too. Just need McDaniels to hit a corner three. Supporting cast trying to trip up Murray. Joker afraid in the key at Rudy. Just hit your foul shots, please. I mean, they're free. 8:30 for the pre-tip after 9. Sundown. Bring your shades as Ant Star shines. Jim Pete with Alan Horton on the radio divine. Early woes, no freakouts. We'll be just fine.
That's right.
9 to noon.
There are many, many positives I can get out of this game.
The game is over.
If it's good news or money, leave them out.
Podcast today's Paul Allen Show, or listen back to previous show and interviews by going to the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.